At 23, she mopped the lobby floors while guests tracked muddy footprints across her work and laughed. My name is Clara Jensen, and this is the story of how the world's laughter turned into applause. Clara was the daughter of a small-town carpenter and a seamstress. Her family lived in a rusted trailer at the edge of a forgotten road, just outside the city limits of Denver. Money was always short, but dreams were never in shortage. Her mother stitched clothes for local boutiques, and her father built wooden toys no one bought anymore. But Clara wanted more. Every morning before school, she'd stare at the massive Grand Orion Hotel sign across the street from the bus stop. Its golden letters shimmered in the morning sun like a promise. "I'm going to work there one day," she told her father once. He smiled, brushing sawdust from her hair. "Work hard, and maybe you'll stay in that hotel someday." But stay wasn't what Clara had in mind. Even then, she wanted to own it. Years later, after her father died from a sudden heart attack, Clara left college halfway through her degree. She couldn't afford tuition, rent, and food all at once. Her mother's hands had grown stiff from arthritis. She could barely hold a needle anymore. So Clara did the only thing she could. She went to the Grand Orion Hotel and begged for a job. The manager, a sharp-suited man named Richard Hall, didn't even look up from his papers when she walked in. "Experience?" he asked. "None," she said. "But I can learn. I'll do anything." He finally glanced up and smirked. "Anything, huh? The cleaning staff needs someone for night shifts. Low pay, hard work. You'll mop floors, scrub toilets, clean up after drunks. Still interested?" She nodded. "Yes." "Fine," he said, scribbling something. "Welcome to the team, Miss Jensen, Clara Jensen." "Right," he said, almost amused. "Let's see how long you last." And from that day forward, Clara became the girl with the mop and the quiet eyes, invisible to guests, mocked by coworkers, and overlooked by the world. Clara worked 6 nights a week. The hotel lobby sparkled by morning, but her back ached like a wound that never healed. Guests would throw cigarette butts on the freshly cleaned floor, and she'd pick them up silently. Sometimes she overheard laughter, mocking, careless laughter from staff or guests. "Look at her," one of the receptionists once whispered. "She's always smiling, even when she smells like bleach." "She probably dreams of owning this place," another snickered. They didn't know how right they were. At home, Clara's mother asked her every evening, "Are you eating enough?" "I'm fine, Mom," Clara would lie. "It's just temporary." Temporary stretched into 5 years. But during those 5 years, Clara did more than mop floors, she observed. She learned how the hotel ran. She memorized every detail: when shipments arrived, how staff were managed, where money leaked, how guests complained. She watched managers come and go, saw inefficiencies no one cared to fix, and quietly wrote it all down in a little black notebook. That notebook became her education. She couldn't afford a business degree, but she was earning something more valuable: insight. One night, after a particularly rough shift, Clara sat on the steps outside the staff exit, holding that notebook in her hands. Her uniform was soaked, her palms raw from scrubbing tiles. An elderly bellboy named George, who'd worked there for 30 years, sat beside her. He'd seen her struggle since day one. "Still writing, Clara?" he asked. She nodded. "What's in there anyway?" "Everything wrong with this place," she said softly. "Every mistake they make." He chuckled. "And what are you going to do with that?" "Fix it someday." He smiled sadly. "You've got more faith than the rest of us combined." She looked at him and said, "Faith's the only thing I can afford." When Clara's mother passed away, the world seemed to collapse. For the first time, she almost quit. But grief, she discovered, can be fuel when you've got nothing left to lose. She sold what little her mother left behind and took a risk. She enrolled in a part-time online business management course. Every penny of her paycheck went into tuition and savings. She studied at night, cleaned during the day, and slept when exhaustion forced her to. By 30, she was no longer just a janitor. She was a student of the system. She began offering small suggestions to the manager. "Maybe we could reduce waste by tracking supply use," she'd say. Or, "Guests have been complaining about long check-in times. What if we—" Richard, the same manager who hired her, would laugh. "You stick to mopping, Clara. Leave the thinking to people who get paid for it." But fate had a funny sense of timing. When the hotel chain faced a financial slump, corporate decided to cut costs. They laid off half the staff, including Richard Hall. Clara was offered a choice: leave or take on extra cleaning duties for the same pay. She stayed. Because she wasn't cleaning floors anymore, she was studying for her future. By her mid-30s, Clara had saved enough to buy her first tiny motel on the outskirts of town. It was a crumbling place with 12 rooms, broken neon lights, and carpets that smelled like mold. Everyone told her she was crazy, but Clara cleaned every inch herself, repainted walls, installed new signs, and greeted every guest with the warmth of someone who knew what it meant to be invisible. Within 2 years, her motel was turning a profit. She bought another, then another. Her quiet determination caught the attention of a small investor who helped her expand. By 40, she owned 5 mid-range motels under the brand name Horizon Stay, all known for their spotless cleanliness and exceptional service. Every morning, she'd drive past the Grand Orion Hotel, the same hotel where she once scrubbed bathrooms, and whisper to herself, "Not yet." Then, one day, opportunity came knocking. The Grand Orion went up for sale. The chain had gone bankrupt after years of mismanagement. The same golden letters that once mocked her ambition now hung crooked and rusted. The building was old, the staff unhappy, and the bank was desperate for buyers. When Clara walked in to tour the property, some of the old employees recognized her. "Wait, is that the janitor?" someone whispered. Another snorted, "What's she doing here? Looking for her mop?" But this time, Clara didn't wear a uniform. She wore a tailored navy blue suit. Her hair was pinned neatly, her eyes calm and sharp. The bank representative extended a hand. "Miss Jensen, thank you for coming. We're ready to review your offer." She smiled. "It's Mrs. Jensen now, and yes, let's talk numbers." The final bid came down to her and a large investment group. She offered a lower price, but with one promise: she'd retain the original staff. The bank preferred that. Stability mattered. When the deal was finalized, Clara Jensen became the new owner of the Grand Orion Hotel, the very place she once cleaned. The first thing Clara did was gather the staff in the grand ballroom. Some were new faces, others were ghosts from her past. Richard Hall, her old manager, was among the guests, unemployed and graying. When she took the stage, the murmurs stopped. "Good morning, everyone," she began. "Some of you may not remember me. Others might." Silence. "My name is Clara Jensen. 20 years ago, I cleaned these floors. Some of you laughed, some ignored me, but that's okay. Because every minute I spent here taught me how to build something better." She paused, looking down at the polished marble tiles beneath her heels. "I didn't buy this hotel to get revenge," she said. "I bought it to prove that dignity in work matters, no matter what job you do." A hush fell over the room. Then she smiled. "Now let's rebuild this place together." Clara renovated the Grand Orion from top to bottom. She redesigned the lobby to include a plaque that read, "Dedicated to every worker who was ever overlooked." She rehired George, the elderly bellboy, as a consultant. He cried the day she handed him his contract. And Richard Hall? He asked for a position too. Clara didn't hire him out of spite. She hired him out of mercy. "You'll start in guest services," she said. Everyone deserves a second chance. When the newly restored Grand Orion reopened, reporters flooded in. Articles ran with headlines like, "From cleaner to owner, the woman who bought her old job." Guests lined up for bookings. Investors wanted partnerships. But Clara didn't care about fame. What mattered most was walking through that gleaming lobby one evening, her reflection gliding across the same floor she once mopped, and realizing it was hers. Success isn't about where you start. It's about how long you're willing to keep going after the world stops believing in you. They laughed when Clara cleaned floors, but she learned something they never did. No work is beneath you when your dreams are above you. And so, every night before closing, Clara would visit the lobby alone. She'd place her hand on the marble counter and whisper to her younger self, "You made it." Then she'd turn off the lights, not as a janitor, but as the owner of the dream she once scrubbed clean. Clara's story became a quiet legend in her city. Students studied it in business classes. Workers hung her quote in break rooms. And every new employee at the Grand Orion received a small black notebook on their first day, a tribute to the one that started it all. Inside the cover, written in elegant gold ink, were her words. "Write down what the world does wrong, and someday you'll build what it should have been." Because Clara Jensen didn't just buy a hotel. She bought back her dignity, her past, and her future, all with the same hands that once held a mop.